Good, happy Tuesday is Tuesday, January 14, 2024. I'm Riley King, and welcome to Riley's Kingdom of News, right here on WRMK News Radio. We got a jam-packed broadcast to get to on this Tuesday, so let's get started right now. First up, Ayotte says she'll work to change New Hampshire's bill law. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Are we waiting for a death?
Governor Kelly Ayotte wants answers. She says the threat to law enforcement and the public from New Hampshire's 2018 bail law could not be clearer, pointing to a recent incident in Bedford that left an officer wounded. He confronted a man wanted on 3 separate failure to appear in court warrants, including felon in possession of a dangerous weapon. Police say a struggle ensued. The suspect reached for the officer's gun and it went off, hitting the officer in the leg.
That case in Bedford was outrageous. What happened to that officer being shot, someone who had been out 3 times.
The 2018 bail law made it easier for criminal offenders to avoid jail after arrest. After years of debate, lawmakers in Concord passed some changes last year. Now, an arrest after 3 prior arrests and failures to appear in court within 3 years will prompt a suspect to be held. In the Bedford case, that change would not have applied because the suspect had 3 prior arrests and failures to appear in 4 years. The governor says it's absurd and dangerous.
Why after the first time the failure appeal? Why do we let someone back out again? I don't get it. Why are we giving 3 strikes? If you fail to appear, you've committed a crime. And, this person, there were some serious crimes, right? Why would we do that?
Defenders of the bail law have previously dismissed these cases as stories being told by police. We've seen over and over again, well, these are just anecdotes, it's just stories being told. What would you say to those lawmakers?
I would say these are real people that are harmed. I mean, I spoke to the officer that was shot at. I appreciate his bravery, but we shouldn't have this happen. That could have gone much worse than it did.
In Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. We want to hear from you. We want your thoughts and opinions on this. Do you think it is, the law is good right now, or do you think we should change it? Email us at rknetwork1995@gmail.com. That's rknetwork1995@gmail.com with your thoughts and opinions, or comment below and let us know. See part of Pete Hegseth's opening statement before hearing. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's pick to run the Department of Defense, is an unconventional pick for an unconventional president, and someone who, despite a long list of controversies, Trump has stood behind.
He loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it.
Hegseth is a decorated combat veteran and ran 2 veterans organizations, but his main professional experience was as a Fox News host. In his opening statement obtained by NBC News, Hegseth leans into that outside perspective, saying that Trump believes, quote, it's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm, a change agent, someone with no vested interest in certain companies or specific programs or approved narratives. Hegseth has also been the subject of numerous media reports about his background, including police confirming an investigation into a 2017 encounter with a woman who accused him of sexual assault, an allegation he denies, and no charges were filed. Hegseth has said the incident was consensual and that he paid his accuser an undisclosed amount in 2023 as part of a settlement agreement. Some GOP senators have been quick to dismiss the claims.
I'm 110% behind Pete Hegseth. We're going to get him across the finish line.
But other senators want more information about that incident and other accusations. The committee received an FBI background check last week. But sources tell NBC News it does not include interviews with the woman who accused Hegseth of sexual assault and both of his ex-wives, leading Democrats to look for answers in the hearing.
Well, it raises significant questions, and that's the purpose of our hearing.
While Republicans and some veterans organizations are rallying around the pick.
He's a patriot, he's went downrange, he's done the right things, and he's got my vote. So it sounded like Senator Tuberville was pretty optimistic there that this was going to get done. Where does Pete Hegseth's level of support stand right now, Ryan, heading into these hearings?
Yeah, Craig. Well, there are 53 Republican senators. Not a single senator has said they are voting no on the Hegseth nomination. That means they can lose 3 Republicans and he can still win confirmation. One person to watch today, Senator Joni Ernst. She is a sexual assault survivor. She is a military veteran. If she shows a degree of skepticism during this hearing today, that could be a sign that there are cracks in his support from Republicans. Craig.
All right, Ryan Noble's there in the room where it's going to happen. Ryan, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that report. We want to hear from you. What do you think about that? The Peter Hegseth's opening statement in the hearings. What are your thoughts on that? Share your opinions with us at rknetwork1995 at gmail.com. That is rknetwork1995 at gmail.com. And weigh in right now. Biden says negotiations are on the brink of ceasefire and deal for Gaza. Let's take a listen to that.
Turn now to the Middle East. High-level talks on a ceasefire deal in Gaza, including the release of hostages held by Hamas for more than a year. Those talks are gaining momentum. The president saying negotiators appear to be on the brink of an agreement. Let's get to NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, who's in Jerusalem for us. Richard, good morning. What can you tell us?
So, good morning, Savannah. 2 Israeli officials tell us that they've never been closer to a ceasefire deal with Hamas, that for the first time, they're really getting into the specifics. Now, first of all, and this is how the deal was described to me by these officials, this is not a one-and-done deal. The Hamas would not just release the hostages and the war is over. It takes place over time in stages. First stage, there'd be a 48-hour pause in the fighting. If that holds, that Hamas would release 33 hostages. These are so-called humanitarian cases, the sick, the injured, the elderly, children. That could take up to 42 days because they would be released in batches. If that goes well, it goes to phase 2 when all of the rest of the hostages are released by Hamas. Israeli troops would stay inside Gaza until all of the hostages are released. And then at that stage, they would pull out of the main population centers, but keep a buffer zone inside Gaza. At the end of all of this, and during the process as well, Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, and the official said the exact number of prisoners depends on how many hostages are released alive. Savannah?
All right, Richard, thank you very much. Keep us posted.
Okay, and there you go. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Let us know right now at rknetwork1995 at gmail.com. Weigh in. Jack Smith, there was not enough evidence to convict Donald Trump. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC.
This morning, Special Counsel Jack Smith saying the government had enough evidence to convict Donald Trump had he not been reelected. An extraordinary capstone to an investigation into the president-elect's efforts to maintain power after he lost the 2020 election. A report spanning more than 100 pages. Now the final word on Smith's findings in the historic case that was set to go to a jury in Washington, if not for the department's long-standing policy against prosecuting a sitting president. The special counsel writing, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. Smith laying out what he called Trump's unprecedented criminal effort to hold on to power, including pressure on state officials and on his vice president to overturn the 2020 results. Smith also focusing on Trump's encouragement of the January 6 rioters.
We fight like hell.
The president-elect pled not guilty to all charges, consistently accusing the Justice Department of targeting him unfairly while using this investigation to his political advantage during his re-election bid.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? You get indicted and your poll numbers go up.
Trump responding to the report in a series of posts overnight, railing against Smith, writing, Jack is a lame-brained prosecutor who was unable to get his case tried before the election.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Smith staying largely out of public view for more than a year after indicting Trump, but now defending himself and his team, writing in a letter accompanying the report, "To all who know me well, the claim from Mr. Trump that my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration is, in a word, laughable."
So much of the contours of this case have been out there publicly, but it is interesting because Jack Smith revealed somewhat why he didn't charge Donald Trump with something more serious, such as insurrection or inciting the riots.
He didn't think he could prove it. And it's rare to have this type of candor from a prosecutor. Usually we get to see an indictment, people speak in court, but because we have the final report here on a case that didn't go to trial, this is probably all we're going to get on sort of detailing his decision making. And he didn't have anyone who could speak to Mr. Trump's intent. Obviously, there was no confession or anything from the co-defendants. And so Jack Smith didn't bring those charges because he didn't think he'd get a conviction in court span.
All right, Laura, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Okay, and there you go. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Let us know. Email us right now at rknetwork1995@gmail.com. That does it for this edition of Riley's Kingdom of News. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and see you tomorrow for another broadcast. Bye.